Okay, you may call your next witness.
Please call Dr. Stephanie Yagi to the stand. Please watch your step. If you'll remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
First name is Stephanie, Stephanie. Last name Yagi, Yagi.
Thank you very much. If you could you please explain to the jury what you do for a living?
I'm currently employed as a medical examiner at the Clark County Coroner's Office.
How long have you been with the Clark County Coroner's Office?
About 2 years.
If you could, please, and what is your title?
Medical examiner and forensic pathologist.
If you could explain to the jury, what is a medical examiner?
So a medical examiner is a medical doctor who specializes in determining the cause and manner of death.
If you could, please describe your educational background for the jury.
So I am a medical doctor. After graduating from medical school, I did 4 additional years in residency training in anatomic and clinical pathology and 1 additional year in subspecialized training in forensic pathology. And I'm board certified in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology.
After finishing your schooling, where did you go professionally from that point? Was it to the Clark County Coroner's Office or was it somewhere else?
Yes, after training, I went directly to the Clark County Coroner's Office.
All right. On average, how many autopsies do you perform a year?
Approximately 250.
Okay. If you could, describe what is the purpose of an autopsy?
The purpose is going to be to determine the cause and manner of death in any sudden, unexpected, violent, or suspicious deaths.
All right. Are there categories that help define potential manners of death?
Yes.
How many are there? At least within your office, how many are there?
So there are 5.
Okay, and please tell us each one.
So there's going to be natural, accident, suicide, homicide, and in cases where we cannot tell, undetermined.
Okay. Did you perform the autopsy on an individual by the name of Jeffrey Michael Gehrman?
Yes.
Okay, and that was performed on September 4th of 2022?
Yes.
If you could, explain a little bit about how Mr. Gehrman's body is transported to your office.
In cases like these where it is a suspicious or violent death, the body is transported in a sealed body bag, either from the scene or the hospital, wherever death is pronounced. It is then transported to our office, and that seal is not broken until the forensic processing takes place in the presence of law enforcement.
Who are the individuals that put that body in a sealed bag for transport to your office?
Those would be our coroner investigators.
Okay, so not someone affiliated with Metro, but actually employees from your office.
Correct.
When Mr. Gehrman's body arrived in your office, was it in that sealed bag?
Yes.
Did you notice any sort of tampering with the seal in any way?
No.
Okay. So after you, let's say, open a seal of someone you're about to perform an autopsy on, what's the next step?
So every step of this process is photo documented. Again, a photograph of the sealed body bag is taken, as well as a tow tag with identifying coroner case number. The body is then photographed as is, or as it comes out of the body bag, and then processing takes place in layers. So if a body is clothed, the clothes are taken off, and again, photographs are taken. If the body is dirty, it is then cleaned, and then again, photographs are taken.
Is there a process of taking fingernail or toenail clippings from a body?
In certain cases, yes.
In this case, was that performed?
I don't recall.
Okay. If that is actually performed, when does that typically happen in the process?
Again, during the processing portion of the autopsy.
And so that's the beginning part where you're photographing and things like that before you get to, for example, cutting and going into the body. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. So after you take photographs of the body with clothing on, and then remove the clothing, and then you get to cleaning the body, what is the next step for a medical examiner like yourself?
So the autopsy examination occurs in multiple steps. The first step is going to be an external examination. So I'm just looking at the body, documenting, identifying features such as hair color, eye color, scars, tattoos, as well as any external trauma that I can see on the body.
Okay. So you kind of go from head to toe and you're marking things externally on the body. What would be the next phase of the autopsy?
The next step is going to be the internal examination. So this portion is somewhat likened to a surgical procedure where the body is opened, the internal organs are taken out, they are evaluated as well as weighed, again documenting any sequelae of natural disease one might have as well as any injuries.
Is there a phase that continues after an internal examination?
There are additional ancillary studies that we can perform that are included as part of the autopsy examination, things like toxicology testing, histologic or microscopic examination if necessary, or any type of other consultations that we see fit.
Okay. Were those things performed in this case?
In this case, toxicology testing was performed.
But not a histological one?
Correct.
And that's essentially when you're looking at tissue underneath. You take slides of tissue and look at it under a microscope. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were any radiographs or MRIs taken of the body?
Postmortem radiographs or x-rays were taken in our office of the body.
Okay. And so that was done in this case?
Correct.
All right. Now, at this time, I'd like to approach with what has been admitted by stipulation, Your Honor, states 188 through states 203.
That's correct.
May I approach the witness? All right. Let the record reflect I'm showing the witness states 188 through 203. Please take a moment, doctor, take a moment to flip through those and let me know if these look familiar to you.
Yes.
Okay. What are we looking at here?
In general, these are going to be photographs from the forensic processing portion as well as autopsy examination for this particular case.
Thank you very much. At this time, permission to publish. Publishing states 188. Who are we looking at here?
So this is a facial identification photograph of the decedent, Mr. German.
Okay. I think it's pronounced Gehrman, but that's
I apologize.
okay. It's okay. How old was Mr. Gehrman?
I don't recall.
Would it help refresh your recollection to see a copy of your autopsy report?
Yes.
Okay, referring to page 1, counsel. Just read silently here, these two lines here, and let me know if that refreshes your memory.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So let me ask you again. How old was Mr. Gehrman at the time of his death?
69 years.
Okay. So this is kind of an external view of him. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, for the purposes of your external examination, you noted a series of injuries. We'll come back to this, but I want to first start with publishing 189. What are we looking at here?
This is an overall photograph of the anterior or front portion of the body.
Okay. I want to talk first about his neck. Did you note externally an injury sustained to Mr. Gehrman's neck?
Yes.
What type of wound was it? Where was it on the neck?
There are actually 2 sharp force injuries of the neck, more specifically 2 incised wounds of the anterior and left lateral aspects of the neck.
Okay, let's take the incised wound to the anterior of the neck. If you could, please explain to the jury, what does the word incised mean?
So an incised wound is a category of sharp force injury, which is an injury created by something with a blade or cutting edge. An incised wound, by definition, is longer on the skin than it is deep within the body. And by contrast, we have stab wounds, which are going to be the opposite. They're going to be deeper into the body than their length on the skin.
So a stab wound essentially could be someone plunging some sharp object into a body versus slicing across.
It could be, yes.
Okay. I want to publish Exhibit 197. What are we looking at here?
So this is the incised wound to the anterior neck previously discussed.
Do you know what the term wound track means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
In my opinion, it is the path that the injury is involving, so specific tissues and or objects that are involved in said wound.
If you could, please explain to us, based on your examination of Mr. Derman, tell us about the wound track of this particular incised wound to the anterior of his neck.
So this wound involved obviously the skin and underlying or subcutaneous tissues. It also produced defects in the larynx, which is part of the respiratory tract, and the carotid artery, which is a main artery that supplies blood to the brain.
If you could, please explain to us what sort of damage receiving a wound like this to your larynx could do to a person.
It could make it difficult to breathe.
And tell me about the carotid artery. Why is that such a significant artery in the body?
It is the main blood supply to the brain.
And what happens if the brain, I know this may seem like a silly question, but please, doctor, tell us, what would happen to a person if their body could not get blood to their brain?
They suffer things like anoxia, which is lack of oxygen. The brain controls many, if not all, of the functions of our body.
Is this injury, based on your medical training and experience, potentially fatal?
Yes.
Do you believe, based on your examination, this was one of the fatal injuries?
Yes.
Publishing Exhibit 198. What part of the body are we looking at now, doctor?
This is the left lateral or left aspect of the neck.
Is there an injury that you denoted here that you memorialized in your report?
Yes, there is a small incised wound.
You know what? If you take your mouse, I believe it should, if you could take the mouse and maybe point to us, where is that second incised wound?
So it's going to be right here.
Okay. So let the record reflect that the witness has circled what appears to be a small incision almost in the center of the photo on the left side of his neck. If you could, what was the wound track result here?
It was relatively superficial, involving only the skin and some subcutaneous tissues.
And so superficial meaning it didn't go too deeply. Would that be correct?
Correct.
In layman's terms, sorry. Let's talk, was there another wound on the left side of the neck? Republishing 198.
No.
Did you indicate at some point that there was a stab wound to the left posterior of the neck?
Yes.
Do you see that here in this photograph?
No.
Okay. But one is noted, is that correct?
Yes.
And let me do this. The lighting's not great either, so let me at least approach and you look at it. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but let me see. If you look at it up close here, can you see it at all?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's republish it, and then you can circle it for us. Publishing 198. Please show us where the wound is to the left posterior neck.
Is there any way to make it lighter?
You know, we can try. That seems, well, that seems a little bit too much, but let's, how about, that seems pretty good. Is that good? Better, doctor?
Yes.
Okay. And I can zoom in too, so why don't I zoom in a little bit more. All right, so can you please tell us where another injury was noted on the left posterior neck?
Yes, it's going to be right here.
All right, let the record reflect that the witness has noted another, what appears to almost look like a perforating injury to the back part of his neck. And just in layman's terms, posterior means what?
The back,
Okay, anterior means what?
the front,
And lateral means what?
on the side.
Okay. What was the wound track on that injury, that third injury?
The injury of the left posterior neck was
Yes.
also involving the skin and subcutaneous tissues.
Okay, and did it also touch on some of the superficial muscles?
Yes,
What sort of injury or effect does that have on a person?
it could be variable.
It could be what?
Oh, variable?
Okay. Let's Was there another injury that you had denoted to the right posterior neck?
Yes.
Okay, what type of injury was that?
It was considered a stab wound.
Okay, what was the wound track on that injury?
Again, this wound involved the skin, subcutaneous muscles, and soft tissues.
Okay. I might circle back to that one. I want to talk about the torso for a moment. Was there an injury to the lateral side, the left lateral side of his torso?
Yes, there are 2 stab wounds to the left lateral torso.
Okay. I'm going to publish Exhibit 190. Do you see the general area where you denoted those injuries?
Yes.
Okay, if you could, why don't you show us with your, and actually, you know what I can do too? I can have an enlargement here. I'm going to publish 195. Just a bit. Where on the left side of Mr. Gehrman is there another injury?
So there's a stab wound here, and there's actually also one here behind this arm.
Okay. Let me publish 196. Is this a better view
Yes.
of at least one of those injuries?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, the stab wound to the left lateral torso, what was the wound track on that? What damage did this injury do?
Of which stab wound?
The one to the left lateral torso, the one closer to the rib cage.
Can you be more specific?
You denote in your report that there's a sharp injury number 5.
So there are 2 stab wounds of the lateral torso. One is more superior or higher up on the chest, while the other one is more midline chest.
Let's talk about the higher up one.
Okay. So the more superior stab wound of the left lateral torso involved, again, the skin and subcutaneous tissues, the thoracic cage or ribs, the left lung, as well as the heart and aorta, which is the main blood supply to the body.
What damage did this stab wound do to the upper lobe of the lung?
So it punctured the upper lobe of the left lung.
What sort of damage could that create in a person?
Could be variable.
Okay, we'll give you some examples, doctor.
Well, my specialty training is not clinical medicine, so my patient population is somewhat biased. However, it could result in trouble breathing. It could result in blood within the chest cavity, and it could result in death.
Okay. You mentioned what damage to, was it, I don't know if you testified to this, but did this injury also touch the pericardium?
Yes.
What is the pericardium?
The pericardium is the sac that surrounds the heart.
What sort of damage could that cause to a person if their pericardium is pierced?
On its own, could be nothing.
Okay. Tell me about, was there any, did this wound penetrate the heart in any way?
Yes.
What did it hit?
I believe it hit one of the atria of the lung, or sorry, atria of the heart.
Okay, did you note that it had hit the right ventricle as well as the aorta?
I would have to refresh my recollection.
Sure. Referring to page 3, counsel.
Thank you.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about this injury. What parts of the heart did this stab wound affect on the heart?
It resulted in injury to the right ventricle of the heart.
Okay, what is the role of the right ventricle?
It is one of the pumping chambers of the heart.
Okay, what can happen to a person if their right ventricle is damaged?
Their function to pump blood to the body may become impaired.
Can that injury be potentially fatal?
Yes.
In your opinion, based on your examination here, was this one of the potential fatal injury, or was this one of the fatal injuries suffered by Mr. Derman?
Yes.
Let's talk about the aorta. What is significant about the aorta? What role does it play?
It is one of the main vessels that leads from the heart to the rest of the body.
Okay. If that portion of if that valve or portion of the heart is damaged, how can that affect a person?
Blood could be impaired to the rest of the body.
In your opinion, based on your training and medical experience, was this another one of the fatal injuries to Mr. Derman?
It could be, yes.
Let's talk about the lower injury to the left lateral torso. I'm republishing 195. If you could show us, I don't know if the lighting's great on that, but if you could show us, where is that injury?
Can you repeat which injury you're speaking
The
of?
lower left lateral injury to the torso.
It's going to be this one down here.
Okay, let the record reflect that the witness has circled an injury to the left of the hand that's holding up a ruler in the photograph. Would that be accurate, doctor?
Yes.
If you could, please tell me about the wound track for this particular wound.
This wound involved the skin and subcutaneous tissues as well as the hemidiaphragm and the kidney.
Okay. And what sort of damage can that cause to the body?
The diaphragm is responsible for helping a person breathe, and the kidney is responsible for waste production.
Okay. What sort of effect can that have on the body if you sustain an injury such as that?
Which injury?
You can take them in order. I apologize. We can start with the hemidiaphragm if you wish.
Could lead to trouble breathing.
Okay. How about to the helium of the left kidney?
The hilum of the kidney compromises multiple different constituents of the kidney, including major vessels, as well as the renal pelvis, which then leads to the bladder. Injury to this area could result in hemorrhage or bleeding.
All right. Was there, and this was what type of wound? An incised wound, a stab wound?
This is a stab wound.
All right. Was there a third injury to the left lateral torso?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Would it help refresh your recollection if I refer to page 3 of your report?
Yes.
Okay. Page 3. Does this help refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a third injury that you had noted to the left side of Mr. Derman's torso?
No.
Okay. Do you recall at least denoting that in your report?
The report denotes a left posterior torso wound, which is the back of the body.
Okay, but Doc, let me just approach real. I just want to make sure I'm getting my numbers correct. You had indicated previously there was a left lateral injury that hit the hemidiaphragm and the hilum. Is that correct?
Yes.
In your report, do you note that as 7 or 6?
Number 7 is denoted as left lateral torso, and then number 6 is left posterior torso. It appears from the report, and my apologies, the left posterior torso wound is the wound that perforates the diaphragm and hilum of the kidney.
Okay, so so posterior means back?
Back.
Okay, so there's an injury, so just so we're clear, on his left back, there's an injury. It's a stab wound, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and those are the ones that perforated the hemidiaphragm and the hilum.
Correct.
Okay, so that's one. We haven't seen that in the picture. You denoted the second lateral one, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the damage with respect to that left lateral torso, was that more superficial in nature?
Yes, it involved only the skin and subcutaneous soft tissues.
Okay. I want to show you Exhibit 193. Are there any injuries here that you noted?
Yes, there are 2 stab wounds to the posterior neck.
Okay. Could you circle where those are?
Sure. We have one here and one here.
All right. Publishing 192. What are we looking at here?
Again, this is the posterior or back portion of the body, and we have 2 stab wounds as well. Here and then here as well.
So that last one you just circled, is that the left posterior one that you were describing that hits the, I'm gonna butcher that, I want to look at my notes. The hemidiaphragm as well as the hilum.
Yes,
Okay, so that's the one you were talking about previously.
correct.
Okay. This superior one up here, what was the wound track on that?
Again, involves the skin and subcutaneous soft tissues.
Okay, and then I'm just re-showing 193, these 2 up here, what sort of damage did that create?
Both are going to involve the skin and subcutaneous soft tissues.
All right. Publishing 194. Is this the right side? Is this the right side of Mr. Gehrman's body?
Yes.
And what do we see on the right side that was of note for your investigation or your examination of Mr. Gehrman?
So here in the center of the photograph, there is a linear abrasion, which is like a scrape or scratch-like injury.
Okay. I want to now focus on Mr. Gehrman's hands. I want to focus on the right hand. What did you note with respect to his right hand and his right forearm?
There were multiple, approximately 3 incised wounds to the right hand and forearm.
Publishing 201. Could you circle where you see any potential, or where you see injuries on Mr. Gehrman's hand?
Yes. So there's one here. I believe there's one here as well. It's slightly overexposed to me.
Let's see if I can bring the darkness down. But you're noting here and here, is that correct?
Correct.
And for the record, there seems to be kind of near the right index finger a laceration, and she's also noting an injury to the inside of his right thumb near the base. Have you ever heard the term defensive type injuries or defensive wounds?
Yes.
In your line of work, what does that mean?
They're wounds that characteristically are seen when a victim is attempting to either defend themselves actively or passively.
Did you make a determination based on your training and experience that these wounds here were most likely representative of a defensive type injury?
Yes, they could be consistent with defensive type wounds.
Publishing 202, we're now looking at his right forearm. Is there an injury noted here?
Yes.
Could you circle it?
There's a small incised wound here in the middle of the photograph.
Okay. Publishing 203, is this a more close-up view of that same injury?
Yes.
In your opinion, was this also consistent with a defensive wound?
It could be.
Turning to his left hand and forearm, did you also note injuries on his left hand and his left forearm?
Yes.
Okay. Publishing 199, Could you show us where any injuries are depicted in that photograph?
There is an incised wound here on the dorsal aspect of the thumb.
Okay, is that dorsal mean top?
Yes.
Okay. And publishing 200. What did you note here?
And then again, there is an incised wound to the forearm.
Okay. Could you circle it for us?
Yes.
All right. In your opinion, based on your training experience, did you also make a determination that these injuries to the left forearm and to the left hand are also consistent with defensive type wounds?
Yes, they could be.
Lastly, did you make a series of notations about a variety of other bruises or contusions or potentially even smaller lacerations throughout Mr. Derriman's body?
Yes.
And then publishing 188, do we see some of those in this photograph?
Yes.
And generally, where are these injuries?
So scattered predominantly across the forehead are some minor abrasions, or again, these scrape or scratch-like injuries.
If you could, just take your mouse and just show us what you're speaking about.
Etc.
Okay. When you've concluded your examination, did you reach a determination as to what the cause and manner of death was with respect to Jeffrey German?
Yes.
And what was the cause of death?
Multiple sharp force injuries.
And what was the manner of death?
Homicide.
And in lay terms, what does homicide mean?
Homicide means death at the hands of another.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness. Yes, thank you.
Doctor, how many stab wounds were on the body?
Sorry, I have to do some math in my head. I believe there are 6 stab wounds.
And how many slicing wounds, slashing wounds?
7 incised wounds.
Okay, so we have 6 and 7, 13.
Yes.
You had given testimony concerning it appeared to be a slashing wound to the front of the neck, correct?
Incised wound, yes.
And I'm referring specifically to State's Exhibit 189. I'm sorry. That would be the wound right here, correct?
Correct.
You would testify that that would have severed the carotid artery, correct?
It did sever the carotid artery, yes.
It did.
Yes.
And you would testify that that would be the primary source, the main source of blood to the brain.
Correct.
Safe to say that in so doing, having been severed, that would have admitted a substantial amount of blood.
It could have, yes.
Through your examination of the body, were you able to determine whether this wound had occurred in a standing position, a laying position?
No.
But assuming that it would have been a decisive wound or a primary cause of death wound, it would be safe to assume that Mr. German was standing. Fair to say?
I would not assume that, no.
No. So it's your testimony then that he could have basically received a fatal cut and gotten back up or been down. You're unaware as to the order. Fair to say?
Correct.
Of the 13 wounds suffered, would it be your characterization that this would be the most serious?
It is one of the more significant wounds, yes.
The other wound being to the left side of the body,
Yes.
near the heart,
Yes.
and that would have been the second most grievous, or the second most serious wound that Mr. German would have suffered, correct?
I would say that it is another significant wound, yes.
And is it also fair to say that given the location of the wound and the type of the wound, again, that would have emitted a great deal of blood?
Can you be more specific about where?
Would you expect that cut to bleed, that stab wound to bleed?
Potentially, yes.
Potentially. Would you expect it not to bleed?
There are certain circumstances, yes, where there not a lot of blood might not be produced.
And what would those circumstances be?
So bleeding could be externally or internally. So I guess we'd have to delineate which one you're asking about.
You obviously performed the autopsy in this case. Did you see any signs of internal bleeding?
Yes,
And how significant was the internal bleeding?
there was a small amount of blood.
A small amount. So then it would be safe to assume that the bleeding was exterior. I mean, it would have left the body, correct?
It could have.
Okay. It would be, for a person to bleed a fair amount from this wound would be consistent with the wound received. I mean, you have no reason to believe that it didn't bleed a fair amount.
Correct.
Same question concerning the wound to the neck. I mean, it's safe to assume that would have bled a lot because there were no signs of internal bleeding concerning that wound, correct?
There were signs of internal bleeding.
But a small amount versus a large amount.
At the time of the autopsy, correct.
Okay. So again, we'd have small internal bleeding, not major internal bleeding as to the two major wounds that occurred, correct?
At the time of the autopsy, yes.
Based upon your examination of the body, specifically the incise wounds, are you able to give an opinion as to the type of murder weapon or the weapon that caused these wounds?
No, other than sharp force injury, which would be due to a tool or implement with a sharp cutting edge, no.
Were any wounds particularly deep? What were the depth of it? And let's focus on the, outside of the defensive wounds, which obviously wouldn't give you an indication, but the two primary wounds.
The deepest wound, I believe, was measured at approximately 3 inches in depth.
3. And as far as the instrument, you can't give any opinion. Jagged edge, straight edge, anything of that nature.
Correct.
Safe to say that the instrument was not longer, assuming it was a knife blade, longer than 3 inches, based upon your examination of the body.
Could you ask the question again, please?
Absolutely. Safe to assume that based upon your examination of the body, and assuming this was a knife wound, safe to say that the blade of the knife would have not been longer than 3 inches.
It is not safe to assume that.
And please explain why.
So the depth of the wound does not directly correlate to the length of the blade. Someone can use full force, push a blade directly all the way to its hilt into a decedent, therefore creating a depth longer than the actual blade. Or the blade could not be pushed in fully, which would then create a wound that is not as long as the full length of the blade.
And in this case, would there be any indication, assuming the knife had been pushed in, that it was not able to be pushed in completely? Anything would have blocked its path or the trajectory?
Could you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. Nothing to show that, let's say, a person was attempting to stab into the body. Is there anything to show or that would have stopped, let's say, the intrusion of the blade?
I don't have any evidence of that on autopsy examination.
And again, you gave testimony that perhaps the blade could have been shorter, but then made a deeper intrusion.
It's possible.
In this case, there's nothing to indicate that, based upon your review of the body.
Correct.
So, based upon your review and your examination, 3-inch wound is the deepest, fair to say?
Correct.
Nothing to indicate that it could have, that assuming it was the blade, could have been longer, correct?
It could have, yes.
But at the time of the autopsy, are you aware of any other examinations that may have occurred to the body prior to your examination?
Correct.
You're not aware of any, are you?
No.
So obviously then we're basically limited to your examination of the body and the conclusion reached by your examination of the body.
Yes.
And at the time of your examination of the body, there was little internal bleeding. Fair to say?
Yes,
So it's fair to assume that the bleeding, again, would not have been internal, it would have been external bleeding. The bleeding caused by these wounds inflicted.
it is one possibility, yes.
At what time did you conduct your examination of the body?
I don't recall.
Do you recall the date?
It would be September 4th, 2022.
And who was present when you examined the body?
Along with the forensic technicians that are part of my staff, there is a member of law enforcement present as well.
And do you recall who that was?
I believe it was Detective Hawkins.
Okay. Mr. Hamner had asked you concerning the hands. You recall, the body coming in a sealed bag, and there was a question concerning the processing of the nails. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Yes,
It was your testimony that you did not recall the nails being processed upon your review of the body.
correct. The clipping of fingernails is not something that is within my job duties. Our forensic technicians perform that task.
Okay.
And I believe that those are given then to Metro or law enforcement.
And when you viewed the body, obviously the hands were not bagged, correct?
Correct.
And you did not remove any bagging from the hands?
Me personally, no.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Jack.
So just to touch on that clippings question, so that's a process that essentially happens before you kind of take over to do your examination. That be correct?
Correct.
Okay. There were questions about the number of wounds and injuries. One of the things I wanted to touch on, I'm going to publish 189. Does he appear to be in a state of decomposition?
Yes.
Okay, is that why we see some skin slippage and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay, that was just something that wasn't covered. I wanted to at least address that. Can that be affected by sitting out in the hot sun?
Yes.
Okay, and this was September. This is in early September. I think it was done on, yours was done on the 4th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. There were questions on cross-examination about the fact that there were, I think you were asked to count up the number of injuries. Remember that? I think you came up with 13.
Yes.
Okay. But to be clear, one of the injuries literally is a slashing of his throat, correct?
An incised wound of the neck, yes.
Okay. Which could be performed with a slashing motion potentially, correct?
Potentially.
Okay. But let's be honest, that injury literally severs his carotid artery.
Yes.
Okay. There is literally a stab wound that pierces his heart.
Correct.
And then there's multiple stab wounds to his back, correct?
Correct.
There's stab wounds to his side, on both sides, or at least there's lacerations on one side and stabs on the other, correct?
There's an abrasion on the right side and 2 stab wounds on the left.
Okay. So there's multiple stabs, and then there's multiple cuts, incisions throughout his body.
There are multiple incisions on the upper extremities, yes.
And then there was one other question about how he was asking you about, well, trying to estimate the length of a blade, right? And I think you had said that's not the length of a wound is not really a good measurement to determine the length of the blade because certain circumstances can be at play that can affect the depth of the injury, correct?
Correct.
And one of the things I think you said was sometimes a blade may not go all the way in. Is that correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that one of the things you noted was, well, then let me rephrase. You examined his hands, correct?
Yes.
His hands have injuries on them, do they not?
Yes.
And in your opinion, what type of wounds are those characteristic of?
They could be consistent with defensive type injuries.
And that is where a victim is trying to protect himself from being injured.
That is one instance, yes.
And this individual is being stabbed multiple times.
Yes.
And he had injuries to his hands as he was being attacked.
There are injuries to his hands.
Okay, no further questions.
Any requests?
Just briefly, in reference to the incised wounds, the stab wounds, length of the blade, if it was in fact a blade, again, there was no bruising around the entry point of the wound to indicate perhaps something being stopped, like say the hilt of a knife, assuming it was a knife. Fair to say?
I did not identify any bruising around the areas of the stab wounds. Evaluation was limited slightly by the stages of decomposition of the body.
Obviously, if you had a body and there were multiple stab wounds and you saw multiple bruising type injuries, that would indicate obviously there was a stopping point, correct?
It could be consistent with something else hitting that area.
Okay. The hilt of a knife, perhaps.
Could be, yes.
And in this case, the deepest wound was a 3-inch stab wound, correct?
It was measured at approximately 3 inches, yes.
Could have been a little less.
Yes.
You gave an example wherein a shorter blade could have been used, and based upon your testimony, a shorter blade could have been used in this case.
Yes.
Again, the cut to the neck, we would expect that to bleed substantially.
It would be my expectation, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Anything else?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down and you're excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here. You